the classical side to your career. It's something that's interested me greatly. You've teamed up with Pierre Boulez.
It's pronounced Boulez.
Boulez.
I asked him.
Really? Okay. Could you tell me a bit about that meeting and how you actually came to work together?
About 3 years ago, I sent some scores of some large orchestral pieces to him to ask if he would conduct them, and he said that he couldn't because he, for one reason or another, couldn't be done. But he invited me to write something for his ensemble intercontemporain. It's a 27-piece chamber group, and he commissioned a piece called "The Perfect Stranger," and excuse me, that's how it got started. And he recorded it in January.
Do you feel intimidated by working with people that do have such a long classical pedigree behind them?
No. Why should I?
Well, I don't know. I sometimes think that classical musicians maybe frown on pop and rock and maybe look down on it somewhat.
Oh, they actually do, yes, but it's totally unwarranted because they have a blind spot that, well, you see, being on the outside of a lot of this stuff, I can remind them of little details like the classical music that everybody reveres so much today, the music from the 16, 17, 1800s, that they say is the really good stuff. Do you know how many people were writing music during those years? Lots.
Right.
Most of them you've never heard of. So, guess who survives? The ones who had hits. Not because they were the best, because they were kissing ass in the court, they made a deal with the church, or they had a personal relationship with a dictator. Either that or they managed to get good reviews. There's a lot of people who have been writing music for centuries. Most of them nobody ever will know. They'll never hear their music. So it's the one who had the hits that stand out. That means in a few hundred years from now, guess who the classical composers of this period will be? Michael Jackson, Barry Manilow, that's the heritage that is going to be left. And so, you understand that when these people think that this is the good stuff, it's only the stuff that survived.
And talking about somebody that arguably could have survived from the late 1700s is a certain person called Francesco Zappa, I believe.
That's right. Well, he's one of the washouts from that period. He was a contemporary of Mozart. He was a cello player. He lived in Milan. Nobody knows when he was born or when he died. In the Grove's Dictionary of Music and Musicians, it says merely that he flourished between the years 1766 to 1788. He gave music lessons to the Duke of York. He lived in England for a while. He lived in The Hague for a while. He was a music teacher there. He lived in France for a short period of time, and he was also a touring musician before the French Revolution, because there still exists part of a review of one of his concerts in Frankfurt. And he wrote mostly string trios. He did write some symphonies, but I couldn't get the music because they're in an archive in Berlin. I was able to get the string trios from Opus 1, Opus 4, and a few other things from the Berkeley Library and the Library of Congress, along with some letters. I also managed to get a piano composition with love lyrics from an archive in The Hague. And I loaded this stuff into a computer in my studio and had the computer perform the music. And we were the first people in 200 years to hear one of the forgotten guys of that period. So I think that it's perfect that it should have been done that way, because I know that in a few hundred years from now, I will be roughly the equivalent of Francesco. I will be that other guy that was laying there on the side that maybe somebody will dig up my music, but the really big guys will be the ones that sold the most records, kissed the most butt on the air, and did all that stuff, because that's the way the world works.
So are you satisfied with the results of all that work?
Yeah, and I think you will be too when you hear it.
Right. And what about your work? Can you ever see that being reworked in future generations?
I don't think that people will be able to play it.
Why?
Because it requires a special training to play it. Because I'm dealing with musical techniques that are not, that you don't generally learn in a conservatory.
Do you ever get tired of being treated as something of a rock and roll oddball or eccentric?
Well, it's always boring, but I mean, that comes with the territory. I would rather be treated as an eccentric than have to do the things that people do in order to be treated as one of the real guys. That's stupid. I'm not going to grow purple hair or wear clothes with a diagonal zipper on it, and sit around all day going.
But it's a tremendously powerful mainstream in America, isn't it? I mean...
Well, who wants to swim in that?
Exactly.
It moves toward the Christians.
But I wonder what you really did feel about that, because we, on our program, get a lot of videos over from America, and they do seem very formularised, and it must be very difficult for somebody like you to actually be able to survive and create some sort of living within that.
Why, it's next to impossible.
So how do you cope? You just go against the grain?
Well, my theory is you do have to do two things. One, you keep going. No, one, you don't stop, and two, you keep going. And then you get whatever comes up.
You've been in music and film production for a long time now, Frank, and you've formed a lot of your own companies in the process because you've wanted to control your own product, which you've implied in our conversation so far. So why have you sold out and signed to a big company like EMI?
Well, first of all, you'd better examine your semantics by examining the term selling out. If a person needs to have some form of marketing to get what he does out to the public, and that person is in the music business, that person has very few options, because the music business is controlled by 3 or 4 really large companies that they control all distributorship. If you wanted to be really independent, you could do this. You could make a separate deal with a distributor in every state and in every country, and you would die, because the distributors are totally dishonest and they won't pay you. I know, I've already been through it. And then you have to sue them by the law of each state in the United States, hire a lawyer in each state, and by the time you're done, it's a joke. So it's more practical to release records through a company. And in the past, the deals that I've had outside the U.S. have been as an artist on another company, with Warner Brothers, then with CBS, and now with EMI. As you know, I have lawsuits against both Warner Brothers and CBS because of what they did to me on those foreign royalties. And those suits will be coming to trial sometime this year. Now it's EMI's turn, and I'm hoping that I don't have to go chasing after them with a stick, but that's for accountants to decide in the future. Right now, they treated me nice. All the people that I've met so far seem to be intelligent, and I haven't seen anybody with a massive gold chains and hair sticking out of their shirt trying to shake hands with me with both hands saying, "Love your face." But it's possible they have an office with one of those guys right over there who's the one who signs their big groups. They probably just sent out the other guys to talk with me.
Or with your face on a dartboard or something, maybe.
Yeah.
But now, the reason I asked was because you've been talking about your independence and how valued it is, and by signing to a big corporation, which is very powerful not only in entertainment but in defence and a lot of other areas as well, you might lose that independence, and you might actually...
How? All I do is deliver a product to them, and all they do is distribute it. They don't tell me what to record, when to record it, or anything. The work is already done in the United States. They pay me for the privilege of shipping it around outside the United States.
Okay. Frank, finally, I'd like to ask you...
Actually, I've got a great idea. Maybe we can find some way to work the defense. I know they only make defensive weapons, but that would be a great delivery system for an album. You know, what a way to release an album. You know, for those hard-to-get-to areas, you know. And it's a good way to test the missile to see whether it actually will fly, because in the United States we have all these missiles on the ground, but they have these computer chips from Texas Instruments, and we don't know whether they're going to go anywhere. So EMI Thorn has the possibility to rush release this album, which they're a little behind on. They have a chance with 4 missiles. They can test the missiles, and we can, you know, have a committee meeting and choose the right country to aim the things at, and send the sucker over there with just a few of them in the warhead, and it would be a really great way to tie the two companies together.
Frank, I'm sure the marketing boys are working on that even as we speak.
I hope so.
Thanks a lot.